Welcome class to lesson 3.1a. Today we're going to talk about solving quadratics by using square roots. First, let's review real quick of how we did before when we solved a quadratic equation by graphing. So whenever you graph, and if the quadratic function crosses the x-axis, that's where you're going to find your solutions. So if the parabola crosses 2 times, you will have 2 real solutions. If the graph crosses and touches 1 time, remember it could be open up or open down, it could possibly touch 1 time, and that would have 1 real solution. And it is possible that it doesn't touch at all, so it might be up in the sky, and this one would have 2 imaginary solutions. Okay, so this was 1 real, and this was 2 real solutions. Okay, and wherever that x value is are your solutions. So just to quickly review, we're going to use Desmos to solve each equation. Whenever you're typing this into Desmos, make sure that everything is on one side of the equation. So if the equation has y on it, you type everything on that side. Remember, f of x is just like y. If the equation doesn't have y at all, it should be set equal to 0. So we're going to go to Desmos and we're going to type this in. Pause the video. I'm going to switch over to Desmos and show you what that would look like. So here I typed in all 4 of them, but I want you to take a look at how I typed them in. Since the first one, A, was already set equal to 0, I'm going to click so it can graph. Notice I did not put the equal 0 part, and you can see the parabola. It is opening up and it crosses in 2 spots. So you're going to go right where the x-intercepts are. You just touch it. It'll show you exactly where that crosses. The y value should be 0, and here is your other solution. So the solution for this first problem are x equals -4, but also x equals -2. And I'm writing that down on my sheet of paper. So I'm going to click over real quick so that you can see I wrote those as my solutions. So think about this when we're doing our new lesson today. Yes, you are showing your work by square roots for this one, but it's a really quick check if you solve by graphing. Okay, so pause the video on these and then replay it so that you can check the graphing for the other 3 problems. All right, so let's take a look at the second one. For this one, notice right here I wrote -36. In problem P, it equals +36. You want to set it equal to 0. So first I subtracted 36 on both sides, and now this whole thing equals 0. So that's what I'm going to graph. I'm going to show that graphed, and look at here. I want to touch it, and it does cross exactly at -3 and the y is 0. So this one only has 1 solution. I'm going to write on my sheet of paper, x equals -3 is a solution because that's where it crosses once. Okay. Let's take a look at the next one. This one does not equal to 0, so I did +20 on both sides. Notice I have a plus. Sorry, if you need to type this in Desmos, if you go to desmos.com, down here, which mine is covered right now for some reason, right here, there's a keyboard. So if you want to type everything in, you can see the x value, the exponents, all the letters that you have here. So you can type in anything you need. Okay, I forgot to show you that. All right, take a look at number 3, or letter C. This one, actually, I can't see, but the reason is that +20. So if I scroll out a little bit, I'm going to slide. Let's see if I can move this up. I'm going to go all the way up to 20. There it is. It's all the way up in the sky. I had that +20, so that's why I knew it was all the way up here. So it does not cross the x-axis at all. So this one is a no real solution. All right. So we have other methods to solve because there are no real solutions. So for now, we're going to write x equals no real solution. So they will be imaginary. No real solution. So solving is great. But it doesn't give us all the solutions. So that's why we use algebra to solve the rest, okay? All right, and last one to check your answers. And look at the x-intercepts here. This one does not cross at a very nice point, but graphing does help us find those values. So here, the solution for D is x equals -1.333. So -1 1/3. And the other answer is x is 0.5. or 1/2. Okay, so quick way to solve or check your work always is if there are real solutions by graphing. All right, so keep that in mind when we do our new lesson. All right, now let's really get into lesson 3.1a. In lesson 3.1a, our main focus is to solve using square roots, okay? First step is to isolate x squared. You want to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Your goal is to get x squared by itself. If x is inside the parentheses, you want to make sure there's no other number in the front, no other number plus or minus in the back. Get this all by itself first. So that's your step 1. After that happens, you are going to take the square root of both sides. Once you do, you are going to have 2 equations. I'm going to show you what that looks like, okay? So for this first example, A, I have no number in front. It doesn't say plus or minus anything. So I'm going to jump to step 2. I'm going to square root both sides like this. Now here's where the 2 solutions come in. If you type this in, you could use decimals also. I'm going to show you how to do that in the calculator on decimals as well. Okay? Remember, you can use this as a calculator. So if I type in, I'm going to use my keyboard, square root of 36. You can use the keyboard. This is just like a calculator. It equals 6 perfectly. Okay? So use decimals.com anytime you need to. So x equals 6, but here's the tricky part. X also equals negative 6. That's tricky. So please remember, because it's x squared, it really means x times x equals 36. So yes, 6 times 6 equals 36, but negative 6 times negative 6 also equals that 36. So both 6 and negative 6 are true solutions. So we're going to have both answers. So please be careful. These have 2 solutions most of the time. Okay? All right, I'm going to go a little bit faster. So if you need to pause the video whenever you need to, please do so. And really try your calculator. If you have one in your hand or use decimals, that's fine. Be comfortable how to type this in. So I'm waiting for 2 answers. One is going to be a positive, and square root of 400 happens to be exactly 20 and negative 20. So both positive 20 and negative 20. Okay, so 2 answers would make that equation true. All right, let's flip the page. Let's do a couple more questions. A little bit faster this time. So letter C, step 1 is to isolate. I have this number here, so I'm going to add 289 on both sides. And now I have x squared equals 289. Now I'm ready for square root. Step 2 is square root of that 289. And square root of 289 actually is a perfect number, thank goodness. It's a perfect number, and that number is 17. So x equals 17, but x also equals negative 17. Okay? And here I'm going to add that 1,225. X squared equals, and actually I don't know that off the bat, so I'm going to grab my calculator real quick and let's check. In decimals, did you know you could just type over also? I'm going to just use that. 1225. Exactly 35. All right. So I have here x equals exactly 35 and negative 35. So I have 2 solutions for that problem. All right, so that's with adding and subtracting. Now, what happens if it's multiplication? Same thing, I want to isolate. This is 5 times. So I'm going to divide by 5, divide by 5. X squared equals, and this comes out to a perfect 16. There's no number in front, no number on the side. Let's square root both sides. And try it with your calculator. I believe this is a perfect 4 and negative 4. So I have 2 solutions. Okay? All right, divide by negative 7. I know negative divided by negative will be positive. Okay? And x squared equals, and try with your calculator. Double check me, please. I believe this would be, any guesses? $81. All right, and then square root. So x equals 9, x equals negative 9. 2 solutions. All right, the next few ones are going to be some combination steps. All right, so combination, just like if this was a regular algebra problem, even if this was not squared, you would subtract first before you divide. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. Be careful with those negative signs. Those two negatives don't cancel out. You make a bigger negative number. So this would be negative 36, negative 4x squared. Carry down your equal sign. If you still need to draw that line down the middle, please do so. Okay? Divide by negative 4 on both sides. X squared equals negative divided by negative is a positive. And now it's isolated. Step 2 is square root. So square root both sides. So x equals, remember I need a positive and negative. Use your calculator if you need to. Square root of 9 is 3 and negative 3. All right, pause the video and then replay this as check as your turn, okay? And see how you do. Make sure you pause and try it first. All right, I'm going to check now. So I'm going to add 32 to both sides. This is still 2x squared. These are gone. Make sure these are opposites. Divide by 2. X squared equals half of 30 is 15. So half of this is 16. Now square root. All right, did you get 4 and negative 4 hopefully? All right, anytime you need to pause the video, please do so. All right, last example. How about if I have square roots or parentheses in them, okay? So I have no number in the front, none on the side. So I'm going to jump to step 2. It's going to be square root, square root. Now, here's how it's different, okay? What's inside the parentheses stays the same. So I leave the x minus 1. Now, square root of 64 is 8. Or it could equal negative 8. So on the right side is where it's positive or negative. Inside stays the same. Please make sure that stays exactly the same. Now this is where I'm going to solve them both separately. I'm going to add 1 here. So x here equals 9. That's one of my solutions. And here if I add 1, x here equals, now they're opposite signs, so they cancel out a bit. And it's more negative, so negative 7. Look at how different my answers are looking now. So do be careful when you do these problems, okay? All right, pause the video, try this first, and then replay just to check your answers, okay? All right, I hope you tried it. I'm going to square root first, so I have x plus 5 stays the same, and 225 is 15 or negative 15. I always like to write that first, so I don't forget there are 2 possible answers. Inside stays the same. Now finish solving. Subtract to undo the plus. X equals 10. Subtract here. X equals negative 20. So those are my 2 solutions for problem B. Okay. All right. We're almost done. Hang in there. There's a couple more double step problems to do, and then we're almost there. Okay. So again, try these problems. I am going to do one of these. I'm going to pause the video, or I'm going to have you pause, and I'm going to have you try all 3 and see how you do, okay? So I'm going to show you one more. For this one, I can't square root until I get undo and isolate. So I'm going to do subtract 12 on both sides first. I leave this because I did not square root yet, so that stays until I do square root. And if I subtract, I get 36. Now this one looks just like example or letters A and B in example 3. Now I'm going to square root both sides. So square root of 36 is 6 or negative 6. That's where I'd like to start, okay? Inside this stays the same. Inside stays the same. Please keep telling yourself that. Inside the parentheses stays the same. Now solve it like 2 separate equations. Add 8. And then add 8. Okay, pause the video anytime you need to copy down all these great examples so that you can use them for the quiz and tests. Okay, all right, now really do try to pause the video and then replay the video when you're ready to check all the other problems for yourself. Okay, all right, I hope you really gave it a try. All right, so I'm going to go super quick because you are just checking your answers. Positive 4, negative 4. Did you get that first step? You may leave your answer as an improper fraction or reduced. In Bag Ideas, when you do your assignments, do make sure if they do not say round, they want the exact value. So you want to type in -5 divided by 3. If it says round to the nearest tenth, that's 1 digit. If they want round to the nearest hundredths, that's 2 digits after the decimal. So do read the direction carefully. How did you do for letter D? I got +5 and 0. Now, for this one, you can't square root until you undo that to -5. Was that your first step? That must be your first step. If not, go back, change your work, correct it. Make sure your notes are accurate so that you can refer to quizzes and tests. Okay? Now square root, +9, -9. Be careful when you solve these. 9 take away 9 is 0. 0 is a great answer. 0 is a number. These are both negative, so it makes a bigger negative number. And voila, we are done. All right. Rewatch the video anytime you get stuck or unsure about anything.